No one expected the room to go silent when the black boy stepped forward. Not in that restaurant, not in front of that man, not in a place where money decided who mattered and who didn't. Graham Whitmore had spent his life being obeyed. He believed power protected him from humiliation, from doubt, from ever having to look twice at someone the world had already dismissed, especially a poor black child with bare feet and calm eyes. But when his daughter, confined to a wheelchair for 5 long years, whispered that her legs felt warm, something inside him cracked. Because moments earlier, he had laughed at that boy. He had raised his voice. He had chosen arrogance over listening, and now fear was flooding his chest. Not fear of loss, but fear of truth. Stay with this story, because what happens next will force one powerful man to confront his deepest prejudice. And it will lead to a moment so shocking, so human, that nothing will ever be the same again. Graham Whitmore had built his life on control. Control over markets, control over people, control over silence. At 46, he was one of Chicago's most feared investors. White, wealthy, precise. Men lowered their voices when he entered a room. Waiters learned to move faster without being asked. Judges smiled politely when his name appeared on paperwork. That afternoon, he sat at a corner table inside the Armitage Room, a restaurant designed to make power feel normal. Polished silverware, linen folded just right. Soft lighting meant to flatter men who were used to being obeyed. Across from him sat his daughter, Lily Whitmore, 9 years old, white, fragile. Her wheelchair was custom-made, lightweight carbon fiber, imported from Germany. 5 years earlier, a crash had stolen movement from her legs. Since then, doctors had promised progress, specialists had charged fortunes, and hope had been rationed like medicine that never worked. Lily stirred her lemonade slowly with a straw, watching the room with quiet curiosity. Graham checked his watch. "They said 5 minutes," he muttered. "It's been 12. Lily didn't respond. She had learned when silence was safer. Around them, diners pretended not to stare. Some recognized Graham. Others recognized the money. Everyone recognized authority. That was when the air shifted. It started as discomfort, chairs stiffening, eyes darting. Someone whispered, "Is that a kid?" Another voice followed, sharper. "Where's security?" A boy had entered the room. He couldn't have been more than 9 or 10. Black, barefoot, too thin for his age. His clothes were clean but worn, jeans with frayed hems, a hoodie 2 sizes too big. His hair was tightly coiled, neatly kept, as if someone still cared enough to try. He walked with calm, steady steps, not rushed, not hesitant, not begging. People watched him the way people watch something they don't want to acknowledge. He didn't belong here, and everyone knew it. A waiter froze halfway across the floor. A woman clutched her purse tighter. A man leaned back as if the boy carried something contagious. But the boy kept walking, straight toward Graham Whitmore's table. Lily noticed first. She lifted her head, eyes widening, not in fear but curiosity. When the boy stopped in front of them, she held her breath. Graham didn't look up right away. He was already irritated. When he did, his expression hardened instantly. "Yes?" he said flatly. The boy met his gaze. He didn't flinch. His voice when he spoke was calm, clearer than anyone expected. "Sir," he said, "if you give me a plate of food, I can help your daughter walk again." The restaurant went silent. Not polite silence, not awkward silence. The kind of silence that feels dangerous. Graham stared at him, then laughed once. Short, sharp. "That's not funny," he said. The boy didn't move. "I'm not joking," he replied. Graham leaned back, studying him now. Not as a child, but as a problem. "Who let you in here?" Graham asked. "This isn't a shelter." A few diners nodded. Someone muttered, "Unbelievable." The boy glanced at Lily. His voice softened. "She still feels things sometimes," he said. "Warmth, tingling. She just doesn't say it anymore." Lily's fingers tightened around her straw. Graham stood abruptly, chair scraping the floor. "That's enough," he snapped. "You don't get to talk about my child." The boy remained still. "I wasn't trying to hurt her," he said. "I just know." "That did it." "You know," Graham repeated, his voice rising, "do you have any idea how many doctors I've paid? How many specialists have told me what's possible and what isn't? He leaned closer, eyes cold. You think you know better because what? Because you touched her legs in your imagination? A murmur rippled through the room. No one interrupted. Lily tugged gently at her father's sleeve. Dad, she whispered. Please. Graham shook her off. This is manipulation, he said loudly. This is what they do. They see a disabled kid and think they found a way in. The boy's jaw tightened, but he didn't look away. I can show you, he said quietly. Just a little. Graham laughed again, louder now. No, he said. You don't get access to my daughter. You don't get to play hero in a place like this. He turned toward the waiter. Call security now. The waiter hesitated. The boy took one step forward, slow, careful, and knelt in front of Lily's wheelchair before anyone could stop him. Lily gasped softly. He placed his hands gently on her knees. Not forceful, not dramatic, just steady. Graham lunged forward. Get away from her! But Lily felt it first. Warmth, not pain, not movement, just warmth. Her eyes widened. Dad, she whispered, my legs feel warm. Graham froze. The boy closed his eyes, breathing slowly. Then he pulled his hands back and stood. It doesn't happen all at once, he said. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. The silence shattered. Graham exploded. Get out, he shouted. Get out of here right now before I call the police. The boy looked at Lily one last time. Then he turned and walked away. No running, no pleading. Just calm steps back toward the door. Graham sat down hard, heart pounding, furious, until Lily spoke again. Dad, she said, her voice shaking. It's still warm. He looked at her, really looked. And for the first time in 5 years, fear replaced certainty. And that's where this story truly begins. Before we continue, let me ask you something, because what happens next challenges everything we think we know about power, prejudice, and truth. Would you have believed a black child in that room, or would you have dismissed him too? Yes or no? Your answer matters more than you think. Graham Whitmore didn't sleep that night. He sat in his penthouse office long after the city lights dimmed, replaying the moment over and over. The boy's calm voice, Lily's whisper, the warmth she couldn't fake. He told himself there had to be an explanation. Adrenaline, suggestion, a coincidence layered over desperation. And yet, every time he closed his eyes, he saw the boy's face. Not afraid, not pleading, just certain. By morning, Lily was awake before him. Dad, she said softly from her bed. It's still there. He froze in the doorway. What's still there? The feeling, she said. It's faint, but it didn't go away. Graham crossed the room and knelt in front of her wheelchair. He placed his hands on her legs the way doctors had done hundreds of times. Nothing. No response. No miracle. But Lily wasn't lying. He knew that. He straightened, heart racing. I'm calling Dr. Klein, he said, already reaching for his phone. They ran tests, scans, nerve checks. The verdict came back the same as it always had. No medical explanation, no measurable change. And yet Lily whispered again, later, as they sat alone. It feels like something started, she said, like my legs remember something. That was when panic turned into obsession. Graham returned to the Armitage room before noon. He questioned the staff one by one. No one knew where the boy had gone. Security cameras showed him entering and leaving alone. He didn't steal anything, the manager said carefully. He just walked out. Find him, Graham snapped. I don't care how. Private investigators were hired. Patrol routes checked. Shelters called. Graham moved through the city like a man chasing a ghost. He kept seeing the looks people had given the boy. Suspicion first, curiosity second, humanity never. Graham recognized it now. He'd worn that same look himself. Late that afternoon, one of the investigators called. We found someone who knows him, the man said. North Side. Community shelter. Graham drove himself. The shelter was nothing like his world. Cracked linoleum, faded posters about job training and food assistance, children's drawings taped crookedly to the walls. He felt out of place, exposed. A woman stood when he entered. Black, early 30s, tired eyes, straight-backed, defensive before he even spoke. "You don't belong here," she said. "I'm looking for a boy," Graham replied. "About 9, black, calm, barefoot yesterday." Her expression changed instantly. "Why?" she asked. "I need to talk to him." She studied him, then laughed, short and bitter. "Funny," she said. "That word, need." He frowned. "Excuse me?" "You didn't need him yesterday," she said, "when he stood in front of you. You didn't need to listen then." The air tightened. "Who are you?" Graham asked. "Naomi Johnson," she replied. "His mother." The name hit him like a punch. He stared. Slowly, memories rearranged themselves. A resume, a performance review, a woman who had stopped staying late, a pregnancy she hadn't disclosed fast enough. "You worked for Whitmore Capital," he said quietly. "Yes," Naomi said, "until you fired me." He swallowed. "I didn't know." "That's the problem," she cut in. "You never know. You never ask." She folded her arms. "My son's name is Caleb, and whatever he did yesterday, you don't get to use him now." Graham felt the floor tilt. "He touched my daughter," he said, and she felt something she hasn't felt in 5 years. Naomi's eyes flickered, but she didn't soften. "He does that," she said. "He senses things, people, pain. That's impossible. So is surviving the things we survived," she replied. "But here we are." She turned to leave. Graham stepped forward without thinking. "I was wrong," he said. She stopped. "I judged him," Graham continued. "I judged you. I judged everyone without ever realizing how easily I do it." Naomi laughed again, this time with no humor at all. "You want forgiveness?" she asked. "Because your kid felt something?" "No," Graham said. "I want a chance to listen." Silence stretched between them. "My son slept in shelters because you decided I was replaceable," Naomi said. "He grew up watching people cross the street when they saw us coming, watching security guards follow him in stores, watching men like you look at him and see a problem." Graham closed his eyes. "I can't undo that," he said, "but I can face it." Naomi studied him for a long moment. Then she spoke, slow and deliberate. "If my son helps your daughter," she said, "it won't be because you're rich. It won't be because you asked nicely. It'll be because he chooses to." "I understand," Graham said. "Do you?" she asked. "Because understanding means accepting that this started with you." He nodded. "I accept that." She hesitated. Then reluctantly, she motioned down the hallway. "Caleb," she called. The boy appeared in the doorway, calm, alert, the same quiet certainty in his eyes. When he saw Graham, he didn't flinch. Lily was brought in later that evening. The room fell silent when the two children saw each other. Caleb smiled first. "You're still warm," he said. Lily smiled back, hope trembling in her eyes. Graham watched, heart pounding, as the space between them filled with something he didn't understand, but could no longer deny. And for the first time in his life, Graham Whitmore realized this wasn't about healing legs. It was about confronting the damage he had helped normalize. The night Caleb Johnson came into the Whitmore penthouse, Chicago felt quieter than it ever had. Not because the city had slowed, but because Graham Whitmore finally had. He didn't order anyone around. He didn't hover. He didn't correct the staff or check his phone every 30 seconds like he used to. He simply stood aside and watched as Naomi guided her son inside, her posture guarded but steady, like someone who had learned the hard way that hope must be protected. Lily waited in her bedroom. She wasn't nervous. She was focused. When Caleb stepped into the room, she smiled. Not the polite smile she gave doctors, but the one she saved for people she trusted instinctively. "You came back," she said. Caleb nodded. "You weren't finished." Graham felt something tighten in his chest. For 5 years, specialists had talked around Lily, over her, past her, like she was a case file instead of a child. Caleb spoke to her. Naomi remained by the door. "You don't have to do anything," she told her son gently. Caleb looked at her, then at Lily. "I want to." He sat cross-legged on the floor in front of the wheelchair. The room was still. No chanting, no drama, just two children breathing in the same space. Graham backed away. For the first time in his life, he understood that power didn't belong to him in that moment. Caleb placed his hands on Lily's knees, the same way he had in the restaurant. steady, respectful. Lily closed her eyes. Minutes passed. Graham's heart pounded so loudly he was afraid it would break the silence. Then Lily inhaled sharply. "It's stronger," she whispered. "It's moving." Caleb didn't speak. His brow furrowed slightly, like someone listening to a quiet sound far away. Lily's fingers clenched the armrests. "I feel it," she said again, tears filling her eyes. "I really feel it." Graham dropped to his knees. He didn't pray. He didn't bargain. He just watched. Slowly, Lily's feet pressed against the floor. At first, nothing happened. Then, barely, her toes curled. Graham covered his mouth. "Dad," Lily said, her voice shaking. "Don't touch me. I need to try." She gripped the sides of the wheelchair and leaned forward. Her legs trembled violently. The room seemed to hold its breath. Caleb finally spoke. "Your body remembers," he said quietly. "You just forgot for a while." With a soft cry, Lily pushed. She stood. Not perfectly, not steadily, but she stood. Graham didn't shout. He didn't move. Tears streamed down his face as his daughter, his little girl, stood on her own legs for the first time in 5 years. Naomi gasped, one hand flying to her mouth. Lily laughed and cried at the same time. "I'm doing it," she said. "I'm really doing it." Graham collapsed forward, resting his forehead against the floor. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry." Caleb removed his hands and sat back, breathing hard now, like the effort had finally caught up to him. "It's not just about walking," he said gently. "It never is." Later that night, they sat together in the living room. No contracts, no promises written in ink, just truth. Graham listened as Naomi told him everything he had once dismissed. How she'd been fired with a single email, how doors closed once people saw her pregnant, how Caleb learned early to stay quiet in places where quiet meant safety. "I raised him to be careful," she said, "because the world isn't." Graham nodded slowly. "I built that world," he said, "and I didn't even notice." He didn't offer money first. He offered accountability. Over the following weeks, change came, not loudly, not performatively. Graham reopened cases at Whitmore Capital. Terminations were reviewed. Settlements were paid. A new policy was written, one that protected pregnant employees and single parents, not as charity, but as standard. Naomi was offered her job back. She declined. "I don't want what I had," she said. "I want something better." So Graham created it, a foundation, run independently, focused on rehabilitation for children with disabilities, employment pathways for marginalized parents, and legal support for workers who'd been quietly pushed out. He didn't put his name on the building. Caleb went back to school. Lily learned to walk again, slowly, painfully, beautifully. And sometimes when reporters asked Graham what miracle had changed his life, he answered honestly. "A child told me the truth," he said, "and I almost missed it because of who I thought he was." One afternoon, months later, the four of them stood outside a modest house on the north side. "This is yours," Graham told Naomi. "No strings." She hesitated. Caleb looked at her. "We can make it warm." Naomi smiled. That night, Graham watched Lily walk up the steps without help. She turned back to him and said, "Dad?" "Yes, sweetheart. Promise me something. Anything. If someone like Caleb ever stands in front of you again," she said, "you'll listen first." Graham nodded, his voice breaking. "I promise." And this time, he meant it. Before this story ends, let me ask you something. How did this story make you feel? Moved, angry, hopeful, or uncomfortable? Do you believe people can truly change once they confront their own bias? If this story touched you, comment 111 below so others know they're not alone. Tell us, what country are you watching from? And if you believe stories like this matter, please share this video. Because sometimes change doesn't start with power, it starts with listening.